we're back, and as I told you, there's another gentleman that we're waiting to host here. You can call him Belay. Well, his real name, he's known as Mr. Paul Ankra. But Belay, we'll find out why. But I want the guest here to introduce Belay for us.
Well, thank you so much for that. This is very a big honor. As I said earlier, Belay for me is an institution that I feel has not been celebrated yet in Ghana.
Wow.
And it will stand the test of time. I've had several encounters with several people since I've been in Ghana, but his has been the most, I think, endearing as well as knowledgeable. Belay understands music. Belay knows how to present. If you listen to Belay on radio, he does it the way it's supposed to be done. And for me, the biggest teacher for me in my journey coming back in media on all counts, equally behind the decks, as well as my social and personal life. I want to welcome the one and only, the institution I would like to call Paul Ankra.
Oh man! Masa! Good to have you here, man. I've been threatening to have you here since when? I think we had the...
Yes, we co-hosted Open Mic in 233 last year.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, and you're here, man.
By His grace, at long last.
At long last. So, and I know also that you're in the UK. You two similarities with the...
Sure.
You know, you're both in the UK for a long time. How long were you there?
I was there for 27 years.
27?
27 years, that's correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what were you doing?
Well, I actually went there to further my studies.
Okay.
And I did my specialization in, my first degree was in wood technology.
Wood technology?
Wood technology and forestry, that's right. And then worked in the UK and also worked in different parts of the world.
Wow.
Bolivia, Brazil.
Really?
Yes.
In wood technology?
Yes, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Europe.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what does it entail when you say wood technology?
Well, basically the science of wood technology just looks at what you can do with wood once the tree is cut. So the wood technologists will come in once the tree is cut. They can tell you how to cut into lumber, how to produce furniture, how to produce tables, how to produce cupboards, how you dry, how you glue, how you join. It's a whole technology.
Wow. So you've been doing this all the time you are away?
Yep,
wow.
32 years now. Been doing it for 32 years.
Wow.
That's correct.
Wow. So when I'm listening to you and you have sent out the multi-track show, I'm thinking, whoa, this guy has been in music for a long time. Yeah, you've been. Well, he tells us a story about how he came.
Yeah. Well, let me sort of just take you back a little bit.
Okay.
I've always loved music, and it actually came from my grandfather.
Your grandfather?
My grandfather. He gave me my very first record to play at the age of 11.
What record was that?
And it was Peter, Paul, and Mary.
That was
Living on a Jet Plane.
I know the song.
You should do.
That one.
That's the one. That was the very first record he gave to me, and I actually still remember the label. It was a Decca label, blue and grey.
Wow.
You will remember.
Oh yeah. We go way back.
That's right. And that was the beginning of my birth for music, and it stayed with me all the way up to secondary school. Went to infant school, and I just had loved music. When I think I was about 14, 15, I decided to learn how to play the bass guitar. Now, in those days, if you told your parents you were learning to play an instrument, it might actually help get you expelled.
Yeah.
So, but I pursued it, and by the time I was 16, 17, I had mastered playing the bass guitar, and I played in the school band.
Wow.
That's right. And we actually held a dance party at the 100th anniversary of infant school.
And you played?
I played the bass guitar, yes, in the school.
At Belay? Which one was?
No, this was in Cape Coast.
Okay.
In Cape Coast.
Okay.
That's right. 1976 when infant school turned 100.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
So that was the way the music came in, and then after that, I still had a passion for music. Not only the fact that I learned to play the instruments, but I was very intrigued about what went into music. When I was in primary school, we had a music teacher who taught you your clefs and bass staffs and all that. So there was a seed was sown, but it had to materialize somehow, somewhere, someday. And for me, I think it began to dawn on me the fact that I was very good at, I have people skills. And I really enjoyed meeting, interacting with people, and having had that passion for music at a very early age. In 1976, I had a group of friends who were then staying in Ringway. And there was this little place called the Sohenko Bar. I'm sure you remember.
Sohenko Bar.
Exactly. I think I was 16 at the time. And a friend of mine said, look, we're having a party for friends, long vac holidays, and this is where we're going to have it. And we want you to play the music. That was my first incursion being a DJ. But it gave birth to latter years when I played in KTK.
Oh,
I played in KTK as well.
Hey, old time, man. You know the dates, man. You young ones,
They've missed.
They've missed. KTK.
Yeah, exactly. So that actually developed my DJing skills, and I worked with the likes of Emmanuel Lamy, the late Don Cedric Mensa was a very good friend of mine. We DJed together. Ishmael, the likes of Explore, and all these guys. These were the old-time DJs of that era. Not too long ago, so I was in KTK from, I think, from 1979 to 1983, and then I left to UK to pursue my studies, and then took it on from there. And as part of a way of supplementing your income, I said to myself, what skills have I got that I can use to supplement my income? Because there you're out there on your own, you have to do things on your own, you've got to take care of yourself. And I said, hang on, I have this gift of music living there. So I spoke to a couple of DJ friends I knew, and they basically sort of took me through the process in which you could get into that industry. I have to say, it was never and never has been my profession. It's a hobby. It's a passion I have for music. And that gave birth to it. And before you know it, I played all over the place.
Wow.
And that's what Kofi was referring to when he talked about coming to Ipswich.
So was it Ipswich?
Ipswich, yes. In East Anglia.
East Anglia.
That's
so
right.
What kind of music were you playing there?
Well, because of my love for music, I was able to play all sorts of genres. There are some people who can only play jazz or can only play R&B, can only play dance music.
Yeah.
I did R&B, I did reggae, I did jazz, I did pop, I did alternative music, I did garage, I did dance. I went across the spectrums because for me it was so easy to play music for the very simple reason that because I had a passion for music, irrespective of the genre, I always looked for the structure in the song. And that allowed you to affiliate with the song better. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and you tend to see this a lot in Ghana, when a DJ is playing, right, people come in and say, play this, play this, play this, play that. If you're not careful, especially in a nightclub setting where you're playing to 3,000-4,000 people, if you will listen to people's sudden requests and you try to program them in, you could kill your night.
I see.
There is a process to program the music, and you need to know when you come in and when you come out. So you take the request, but you know when to program it.
I see.
Some of them also, sometimes you even have to stay away because it's the wrong song for the moment.
I see.
It's happened, yes.
Wow.
That's
wow.
right.
Wow. Because I know I've been to parties. You know,
That's right.
So I'm disrupting their flow.
No,
they don't mind me most of the times. Eventually it comes up, but not that instant.
Yeah.
So I see.
That's right.
So now you're doing the multi-track. So that's perfect for you.
Well, you see, I'll tell you how the multi-track came back. When Kwesi Trim set up Joy FM in 1995, I had come for a holiday, I think it was 96, 97, and he heard I was in town, so you got to come and at least do an hour, 2 hours show, but because of my times and schedules, I couldn't actually make it. So I came back home in 2010, and at that time, Joy had established KTK Fever, which was the old school jam taking place in, at that time it was Accra Conference Center. And he saw me at the event and said, next year you are playing KTK. So I said, okay, not knowing what he meant. But before that happened, there were some changes in Joy FM. This was when Bola was moving on to go to another station. And then as a result of that shuffle, a vacancy came in for the multi-track.
Okay.
Now, the concept behind the multi-track basically is where you can go across different genres of music. That suited me perfectly because of what I explained previously. And as a result of that, I was asked to do the multi-track show, and I've been doing it for 4 years now.
Put your hands together, man. Wow.
Yep.
And Kofi here, the hero, pal.
See, don't buy him. There's an interesting lesson, I think, between myself and Belay, in that when I first arrived, I did not know how to use the decks.
Okay.
I did not have a full appreciation of music. All I had was a voice. But he made contributions by suggesting. He made contribution by advising. Now, it was important that I was receptive to listen. That, okay, not only should I respect the fact that older people know more, because they've lived on this earth. It's not always the case, but that they know more. If somebody's already sitting in the seat, then sometimes it's important to listen to what that person has to say. And I think that's the lesson that I get out of working with Belay, in the fact that, I could go around saying I have a big brand, etc., but I have to recognize those who were influential in connecting the dots. So Belay is good advice all across the board, all the time.
We try. We try. No, you see, because here's the thing. When you're working on radio, what a lot of people don't realize is there has to be a flow or connection between you doing the show and the next person doing the show. There has to be a seamless link. Even though the styles of music may be different, the concepts may be different, the genres may be different, there always has to be that link between one show and another. Now, how you do that is a function of how you bring or prepare your audience for the next person, and sometimes also how you use music, your last few records, to prepare people for what's coming. So when Kofi came in, I was told Kofi was coming to in the Late Night Express. The first day he came in, obviously he was new to it. He had good idea of music, but there's also the technical aspect of radio presenting, which a lot of people are not fully appreciative of. Because you hear it on radio, you have no idea of what goes on inside. So you also have to understand the technical aspects of presenting your radio show. For example, how do you use your microphone? How do you use your tone? Inflection, tonation. These are all skills that you must be able to execute on air. Also, the choice of music you play, depending on the audience that you are playing to, is very, very important. So, for example, Kofi does the Late Night Express, which is more of a laid-back, soft, go-to-bed type of music. Sometimes he has guests who come in and he has a chat show. But generally, what we tend to do is towards the end of my shows, I am slowing down the tempo
so that the transition
is seamless. Not all the time, because sometimes we do specialist shows which doesn't allow you to do that. But generally, the objective is to make sure that you bring in the next presenter the right way. And that takes it.
So this just came to my mind, because so when you are signing off to welcome Kofi, you wouldn't necessarily put on one corner. That would be a good one.
That's correct.
But okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And any of you can take this. Do we have many who have this understanding, or generally you are behind the board? So
let me go first on this one, because it's important that I recognize Belay's skill. A lot of DJs, Ghanaian DJs, have come to me who make music, and I won't mention any names here, for suggestions and advice, because I have a very creative mind. I've had to come and consult in Belay and sometimes take him there to their studios for him to listen to what they're doing. Just because Belay understands the structure of music. Now, he's not only just spilling out knowledge, he's actually learned how to do it. He's been educated on it. And so people like Belay needs to be listened to a little bit more. I don't have a problem with Belay being a professor, showing people, teaching people presenting the music, or whatever skill that would look like. But sorry, I interrupted you.
Wow. So that's I mean, that's great. That's great. So Belay, in terms of how did the name Belay came anyway? You are.
Well, I knew you were going to ask this. I knew you were going to ask this. Well, it actually originated in 1973 when I was in Infansim School. I was part of the school athletic team.
Okay.
And as part of years of practice and years of training, I was developing quite some huge muscles, chest, thighs. I was basically.
Now you're macho.
No, me macho. My trick, Now, as a result of that and put it in there, there was a worker in the school who he was very well built, and he used to do all the odd jobs and all that. And he was called Belay, and it was a short way of Belay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so as a result of that, they said, "Oh, you are developing like him." Obviously, you couldn't have two guys with the same name.
Okay.
Now, there was also a senior who was about 3 years ahead of me, who also had a similar structure, and he was also called Belay. So they said, look, we can't call you Belay. So they said, no, we'll take the O out.
Okay.
And just made it P''Lei.
Okay.
And that's how that's how it started. And strangely enough, there are many people who know me by Belay and don't even know my real name.
Yeah. Actually, I was like, I don't know the real name. I sent a text. I said, I wrote B and then Lay. I said, I'm not sure about the spelling.
Yeah, I saw your text. I saw the text. That's right.
Yeah. Family?
Yes, 3 children.
Oh, great.
That's correct.
And the kids are all in Ghana?
2 of them are in the UK, a 28-year-old, a 23-year-old, and then I have a 7-year-old.
Wow.
Put
your hands together, man. I guess the name of your wife?
Yes, it was Maxine.
Maxine.
Yes.
That's right.
Ghanaian?
Maxine's Ghanaian, but born in the UK.
She
went to Wesley Girls, so.
Oh, she went to
Gay girl.
And Belay, they were all they were born here and they left and.
No, two were born there, and the 3rd one was born here.
Oh, okay,
that's
fantastic. So he had all these wonderful things to say about what you've. Do you listen to his show?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do, because when you leave, you.
Yes, once I get into the car.
Have you ever called him to advise me?
Oh, yes.
Well, we do that all the time. We do that all the time. And even though I've had 42 years of experience in the music industry and all that, there are times even though he's new to radio, he's been doing 3-4 years now. Even though he's new to radio, there's sometimes he comes up with some concepts for me. And I'm the type of person I have this philosophy that you're never too old to learn.
Yeah.
Because,
I hear you.
because
I'm in the same school.
Yeah, I mean, God gave us 10 commandments. My dad gave us 11th, and that was thou shalt learn something every day.
I like the 11th commandment.
The 11th commandment. That's right.
Cool.
So yes, we bounce ideas off each other, and if there are areas of his show that I feel that could be improved, I'll suggest it. I'll never impose, because he has to take master and control of his own show. So I just give him some ideas and feedback, and then he implements or he executes.
And any time Belay's had a show where he has had to have guests, sometimes I've sat in as a guest, and sometimes he's sat in as a guest on my show as well, with the other guests. So we've supported each other like that. Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic, man. And they don't enjoy you. From multi-track to late night, and in wrapping up,
sure.
Let me start with Kofi, because I brought you here first. Your word of advice to people, especially wanting to get into the radio space, or anything from your heart.
I've interviewed so many people who are either musicians, radio pundits, and people of your caliber. And the one thing that seems to resonate, that comes up all the time, is the fact that you have to be consistent and you have to persevere. Consistency and perseverance are the key to achieving anything you want. And for me, I think that is where I appreciate the mind frame that I have from where I've come from. It's because it's like they call it, when you have that bit between your teeth, as the English say, you know, it just has to come out. You have to deal with it. So I like to deal with issues. So if anybody out there is thinking of starting any journey for that matter, not only in media, you've got to prepare yourself for the fact that there are going to be so many challenges and so many setfalls, but ultimately, you have to keep pushing.
And Belay?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about within the specific industry of the media, and media is radio, television, communications, online, it depends on what you want to do. But here's the thing. Because of the proliferation of radio stations we have in the country, over 300 stations across the country, it has in some ways engendered a number of youngsters who want to get into the radio space or the television space. So the passion has been stirred up. What I think is lacking is the platform that takes that passion, nurtures it, and then develops it to a point where they become professional in the delivery and execution. So let's take, for example, somebody who wants to be a radio presenter. And I've seen 18-year-olds, I've seen 25-year-olds, I've seen 30-year-olds who come to me and say, look, how do I get onto radio? One of the things that they have to recognize is this. One of the keys of being a good presenter on radio is not so much the music that you have. It's about the manner in which you present and execute, which means you must have a good radio voice. There are some people who have voices that are good for the nightclubs, not good for radio. So you have to be able to understand what it takes to go onto radio. And there are a number of key skills that you should have. Things like I said, your tonation, your inflection, knowing when to speak, when to pull out. These are all technical skills. And you must be patient. You must be extremely patient. You cannot come out of, let's say, university industry and all of a sudden your first job, you want to be behind the desk. It doesn't work like that. And anybody who wants to be on radio, especially those who want to be the radio presenters, the DJs, one piece of advice I can give you, spend time on the circuit, outside, doing parties, doing events and all that. It will give you the confidence of how to speak, because you'll be forced to use a microphone. And that's where you develop your skills. When I started DJing and all that, there are times when for 2-3 years, I was playing at events free. Not because I couldn't charge for it, but because I wanted to understand the craft.
Get the craft.
To get the craft exposure, how you interact with an audience, know when to use a microphone. And once you've developed that, then you take it to the next level. And before you know it, you are then being called and hunted to come and do a radio show. It takes time, it takes preparation. And you must be prepared, like Kofi said, to go through the mill. Try to jump at started, you're heading for disaster.
Put your hands together, man. And as I said, this is always a platform for the youth to get education, man. Time and preparation, persistence. That's the only three things that will take you there, man. Time, preparation, persistence. Folks, what a pleasure to have you guys here, man.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So, we'll do this again.
I'm sure we will.
I want to come again.
You're lying, man. Put your hands together one more time and stick around. We'll be right back.
If you're having as much fun as I am, stay tuned. If you're not, you need deliverance. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.